CBS Sports welcomes you to the banks of the Ohio River in Cincinnati, where this afternoon at sold-out Riverfront Stadium, the Bengals host the Detroit Lions. At 4-6, the Bengals are in last place in the AFC Central. They need a win today to keep their faint playoff hopes alive. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with John Robinson, and it's great to have you with us. Bengal coach Dave Shula admits that his team's chances of making the playoffs are a long shot at best, but it's impressive, Coach, that they're still alive, given that this is a young team with 12 rookies. They're rebuilding.
There's no question, and a win today really would get them that momentum going back again. If they are to win today, Boomer Esiason has to have a good day. His passing percentages fell way off last week, and he needs to pick that up. He's going to be without his longtime friend and great offensive tackle, Anthony Munoz, who suffered a season-ending injury last week against the Jets. So he'll be without him today.
Meanwhile, the Lions at 2-8, they acknowledge that their chances of making the playoffs are just about gone. What are they trying to accomplish?
Well, they're trying to get the nightmare stopped. This season has been just horrendous for them, and they want to build some momentum to get back some of the pride that they established last season. For them to win today, they must not turn the ball over. They've had 10 turnovers in the last 2 games, and so that's predominant on their mind today. So we'll see a lot of Barry Sanders left and Barry Sanders right if they're going to be successful today.
The Bengals kick off. Lee Johnson booted it away, and it's dropped by Mel Gray at the 5-yard line, and then he's down at the 6-yard line. Randy Kirk made the play on special teams for Cincinnati. Eric Kramer starting for the 2nd consecutive week for the Detroit Lions. The offensive line in front of him patched together this year due to injuries and the death of Eric Andelsick. Lomas Brown, a 2-time All-Pro at left tackle. Barry Sanders, the lone back, as again Detroit will start with 4 wide receivers, including Mike Farr in for the injured Jeff Campbell. It's a terrible field position with which to start the game for Detroit. The Lions begin at their own 7. And they give it to Sanders. He couldn't turn the corner. David Fulcher up from his safety spot to make the play. Tim Crumry is the leading tackler for the Cincinnati defense. He's the nose tackle in his 10th season out of Wisconsin, joined up front by Lamar Rogers and Alonzo Mitz. An outstanding linebacker core, James Francis, an outside linebacker in his 3rd year out of Baylor, having a particularly good season. And the secondary has been the weakness of the Cincinnati defense. They've given up some big plays. No gain on first down. 2nd and 10 for the Lions. Kramer to throw. It's caught short of a first down by Herman Moore.
I think that's what Detroit is going to try to concentrate on today, Sean, of trying to throw that ball, the high percentage pass, trying to throw in front of the corners, try to make sure that they get consistent gain. They've had trouble giving up sacks this year. The offensive line has had problems. And the Cincinnati defense is a defense that loves to stunt, loves to confuse you. So if they get the ball thrown short, that's going to help them in their early going.
3rd down and 1 facing Eric Kramer and the Lions. They played a minute and a half in Cincinnati, no score. And Kramer calls for a timeout just before the play clock was about to expire.
Well, that's again one of those things that they didn't expect. You spend all week working on a certain set, and then you see another one.
We'll be back to Riverfront Stadium in just a moment. Hard here overnight and for a while this morning, but at the moment the skies appear to be trying to brighten as the Detroit Lions look at 3rd down and 1 on the opening possession of the football game.
It's early in the game to say this is a crucial play, but when you start off with really horrible field position, you need to put a couple first downs together, and that's probably why they took time out, just to make sure.
Herman Moore in motion. They give it to Sanders. They lined up the tight end Johnson in the backfield, and Barry picked up the first down, it would appear, as he bounced out to the 18, made it by about a yard.
Here's a look at Barry Sanders being led in the off tackle hole. He finds a little bit of a cutback lane. Lomas Brown did a nice job of helping him on the backside, and that got him an extra yard or two.
1st and 10, Detroit. Sanders came into this game needing 56 yards to become Detroit's all-time leading rusher. And catch the great Billy Sims. There was movement along the line. It looked like Sean Bowens, the left guard, came out of his stance.
This is the thing
Ball
that
start
is just
prior to the snap. Number 66 offense, 5 yards, still first down.
This is the thing that has just bedeviled this football team. The mental error, the penalties have just seemed to compound themselves in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I know Wayne Fonts, in talking to his football team all week, says, let's don't beat ourselves. And here right away, they start off with a penalty. If they can avoid this and get some rhythm early in the game, Sean, it's so important to get a rhythm established so you have a good feel about yourself. And when there's a certain amount of doubt, that's hard to do sometimes.
1st and 15 now. The Lions backed up to their 12-yard line. And again, movement along the line. Well, it was a woeful performance last week by the Lions. They had 6 turnovers. All kinds of penalties. Larry Nemmers the ref.
False start prior to the snap. Number 66 offense, 5 yards, still first down.
Sean Bowens again.
You don't think they're trying to break that record this week, do you, that they established last week for a number of penalties?
They had 7 penalties, a punt blocked, 4 fumbles lost. They went into that game having only lost 4 fumbles all year. They lost 4 in that game alone at Pittsburgh. Jimmy Johnson, the tight end, to the sideline, being consoled, it appeared, by Wayne Fonts as the Lions have returned to the spot that they started, the 7-yard line. Looking at 1st and 20. We've played just more than 3 minutes, no score. Draw to Sanders. And he's down to the 18-yard line, a pickup of 11. Ricardo McDonough took him down.
Well, this is without doubt the quickest, I think the best runner that I have seen in my time in the NFL. And he just got him back off the hook that time. Sean Bowens probably went back to huddle and said, thank you, Barry, thank you. We're 2nd and 9, and now they've got a legitimate chance to compete for a first down.
Sanders rushed for 94 yards last week at Pittsburgh, but lost 2 fumbles in the second half. It proved to be very costly fumbles in the 17-14 Lion loss. Kramer with time finds Brett Perriman for a first down out to the 33-yard line. Perriman has now caught a ball in every game since coming to the Detroit Lions. That's 30 straight games with a catch for Brett Perriman.
Well, he's very quick, and he comes off and crosses the field. We got man-to-man coverage on him here. You see him kind of push away. When you have your quick receiver inside like that and are able to get him loose against man-to-man coverage, you get the ball to him as quickly as possible.
Perriman led Detroit in receptions last year with 52. That was his 46th catch of this season. So he's ahead of last year's team leading pace. Kramer over the middle, caught by Herman Moore. Near midfield, they'll spot his forward progress to the 50-yard line before Rod Jones made the tackle. 2 catches from Moore today, and he's caught a pass in 10 straight games.
One of the things that Barry Sanders does for you on first down, Cincinnati is playing against that offense, saying we got to stop the run, and here are 3 wide receivers in the ball game. So it really causes a dilemma for the defense when you have that great a football player. Barry Sanders, in effect, has opened up the secondary for those last 2 completions. They were simple. One was a crossing pattern. Another was just a simple down and in, and the men were open.
Kramer again looking to throw. That's caught for another first down for Detroit. Mike Farr spinning down to the 36. That's a gain of 14, and Eric Kramer is on target early after passing for 304 yards last week at Pittsburgh.
Well, for Detroit, establishing a rhythm early is just been a crucial thing. I think they've worked on it all last week, and you get a feeling that Kramer's just got a nice little rhythm there. He throws a simple pass in the flat. Farr makes the catch and gets a few extra yards.
Only the 10th catch of the year for Mike Farr. He's in his 3rd year out of UCLA. An impressive drive to open the football game for Detroit. It's past 6 minutes now. And Kramer is 4 for 4 for 54 yards. That one is intercepted. He tried to hit Mike Farr, and James Francis stepped in front of him. Francis taken out of bounds by Barry Sanders at the 28-yard line. He returned it 41 yards following his 2nd interception of the year.
Well, we've just seen a microcosm of the Detroit season right there. They have an impressive drive, establishing rhythm. Kramer goes back and just is a little late with the ball. Francis does a nice job of diving in there and is off running. That's the kind of pass that the quarterback just has to make sure he's careful. When you throw the ball in the flat, if he's not there, throw it away. So you saw him hesitate. That allowed Francis to cut in front. The ball thrown a little bit behind.
Boomer Esiason swings it out in the flat, complete. Good job by Eric Ball to avoid going down 2 yards short of where he actually did. Ray Crockett eventually made the tackle for Detroit. Boomer Esiason at quarterback in his 9th year out of the University of Maryland. And like the Lions, the Bengals have had problems up front. Now they're without Anthony Munoz. Green and Ball in the backfield. McGee and Pickens, the wideouts. Pass to Eric Ball, picked up 2. Now they hand it off to Harold Green, and he drives down to the 21-yard line. Chris Spielman on his way to leading the Lions in tackles for the 5th straight year. He'd be the first player in team history to do that. Spindler, Ball, and Pritchett up front. Spielman and Gibson in the middle. Jamison and Tracy Scroggins, the rookie, starting for the injured Mike Cofer. And a solid secondary featuring 2 of the best safeties in the NFL in William White and Benny Blades. Blades says they are the best pair of safeties in the NFL. 3rd and 3 from the 21. No score midway through the 1st quarter. And Green tackled for a loss by Spielman. Back to the 23. That play lost 2. And the field goal unit is coming on for Cincinnati.
Chris Spielman is one of the toughest and smartest linebackers in the league. That time, I think he just came underneath the block. The guard started out, and Spielman came in behind him and met the Green in the secondary and stopped that threat. That's a nice comeback for the Detroit defense. For Detroit, what they have to do is give their defense a chance, which they don't seem to want to be able to do. But here the defense rose up and stopped what should have been a touchdown.
40-yard try for Jim Breach. Right down the middle. He's now 10 for 10 from 40 yards and in this season. And the Bengals take advantage of the interception to take a 3-0 lead here in Cincinnati. Sean McDonough with John Robinson back at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The Bengals, after an interception by James Francis and his return of 41 yards, on the board first on a 40-yard field goal by Jim Breach. Again, Lee Johnson pops it up, trying to keep it away from Mel Gray, and it worked too well as he kicked it out of bounds, and the Lions will take it at the 35-yard line. So much better field position this time, and they had, just like last week, John, a nice drive going, but then the critical mistake happened, the interception.
Yeah, and it's as we said in the opening, it's been a nightmare for them, and they've just got to find a way to get out from under it. You know, it's interesting when you have a great kickoff return person like that. Everybody that plays against them devised all these ways of not kicking to him, and here they probably should have kicked to him because they got the ball on the 35-yard line, and that's not what Cincinnati wanted. But for Detroit, it's just keeping your confidence and establishing a rhythm and not worrying when the next shoe is going to fall.
They had it for more than 6 minutes on their first possession. Kramer pursued by Francis. Francis knocked it away. It's a free ball picked up by Bowens, and he ran it back to the 30-yard line. Still a loss. of 5 on the play for Detroit. Sean Bowens, second-year man out of Nebraska Wesleyan, the first player ever drafted out of that school. We don't think he was a running back there.
Here we're going to get a look at Francis just run right over Barry Sanders. You see Barry Sanders step out, try to cut him, but he doesn't get a piece of him. It's a mismatch physically, and Kramer pays for it. And again, the same kind of problems start to happen.
Loss of 5, 2nd and 15. 3-0 Cincinnati. Just under 6 minutes to play in the first quarter. They set up the screen. Sanders got 4 yards back to the 34. That'll set up 3rd down and 11 for an NFL Today update. Let's check into New York with Greg Gumbel.
All right, Sean, in Buffalo, the Bills on the board first against the Atlanta Falcons. Carwell Gardner standing up from 2 yards out. 7-0 Bills first quarter. Back to Cincinnati. Sean and John.
Thank you, Greg. 3-0 here on the field goal of 40 yards by Jim Breach as we approach 5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. 3rd down and 12 officially for the Lions as they operate from their own 33. Kramer dodged the blitz. Now he has to run. He's over the line and down, well short of the first down at the 37-yard line. He got tackled by Daniel Stubbs and Rod Jones and pressured out of the pocket by Alfred Williams, who's playing with a separated shoulder today. Jim Arnold on to punt. Last week at Pittsburgh, his second punt of the game was blocked, and that ended a string of 211 punts without a block for Jim Arnold. It was the longest such streak in the league prior to the block by Warren Williams of the Steelers. Carl Pickens leads the NFL in punt returns at better than 15 yards per chance. Pickens earlier this year returned 195 yards for a touchdown against Green Bay, the longest punt return in the NFL this season. Excellent punt by Arnold. Pickens watches it go over his head and into the end zone. A 62-yard punt for Jim Arnold. We'll return to Cincinnati in a moment. On Thursday, the New York Giants face their rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, in a hard-hitting NFC East game. Thanksgiving is based on family and tradition. Turkey, football, and the Turkey Drumstick Award. And Greg and Terry lead off the day at 3:30 Eastern with the NFL Today, the last word before kickoff. Bengals with the ball in a 3-0 lead. We've only had it for 3 plays here in the first quarter, and we're down to 3:55 to play. From their own 20. Harold Green, the ball carrier, and Chris Spielman, the tackler, and they'll probably become well acquainted before the afternoon is through.
Chris Spielman talked to us during the week, and I think he's become one of the real intelligent players in this league. He studies a lot of film. He's responsible for getting the defense adjusted to meet the various formations that offense show them, and he's quite proud of his ability to know what's going on and to react to it.
2nd and a long 9 as Green advanced the ball just beyond the 20. Jim Riggs, the tight end, went in motion, and they keep it with Green, and he drives out to the 24. Again, Spielman is at the bottom of the pile. Spielman traveled down to Columbus, Ohio from Detroit on Friday night to give a pep talk to his alma mater, the Ohio State Buckeye football team, and they went out and tied Michigan yesterday. Spielman and William White, both former Buckeyes, who went down to address the Ohio State troops.
Gave him the old tie talk.
That's right. We're with you, win or tie.
Win talk. But it was a great comeback by Ohio State.
3rd down and 6. Esiason running out of time, and he's sacked. Back at the 20-yard line, taken down by Kelvin Pritchett, the right end in his 2nd year out of Mississippi. He leads the Lions now with 5 sacks.
Well, that was a case of just nobody open. You'll see Boomer go back and start to look. You know, he's ready to throw the ball now if he can just find somebody open. He's starting to work down to other receivers, and it's just too long, and he has to eat the ball. But in your own territory, you can't afford to throw that football unless you see something there. He probably went through about 3 different receivers there trying to find one of them open. And I'm sure he's telling them, come on, guys, get open. I don't have all day.
Lee Johnson, the left-footed punter. Gray started at the 41 and brought it back to the 45. Leonard Wheeler first down to cover the punt for Cincinnati. A 40-yard punt, a 4-yard return. The Lions have it back after this. Bengals David Shula at age 33, the youngest head coach in the National Football League, but he's been patrolling the sidelines for a long time, even as long ago as 1974, when as a 14-year-old he did some charting on the sidelines for his father Don Shula, the legendary coach of the Miami Dolphins. Lions with the football, under 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. Cincinnati leads 3-0. Lions started at their own 45. That's a completion to Herman Moore, his 3rd catch. Good for another first down into Cincinnati territory at the 44-yard line. Rod Jones made the play, and there's some pressure on Rod Jones to make some plays today. Ron Lynn, the defensive coordinator of Cincinnati, said during the week, Rod's been in position but hasn't made enough plays, and he needs to start doing that.
Well, it looks like Detroit's going to give him a chance because they're going out in his direction, trying to get the single coverage he against Moore. That kind of pressure can force you to maybe to make too many aggressive moves, and he's got to be careful that Moore doesn't go by him. One of the Bengals' real strategies right now is try to force Barry Sanders to have to pass block every time they throw the football. They're coming with linebackers. We get a chance to see that.
Sanders threw a big hole. He's at the 20 and pushed out of bounds at the 17-yard line. Darrell Williams pushed him out and saved the touchdown. It's a gain of 27 for Sanders.
Here we get a look at Johnson coming in motion, the tight end. He's going to step right out and pick the outside linebacker Stubbs up. There's a nice big hold, and now watch that guy's acceleration. He goes right by the safety. Williams almost loses him, but he gets a push on him. He is so deceptive, and he accelerates so fast that you really, even if you see it on film, you don't quite understand it until you're there and you can see what happens.
Sanders now needs 16 yards to pass Billy Sims and become Detroit's all-time rushing leader. 1st and 10 from the Cincinnati 17. Kramer running out of time. Flag thrown as Kramer goes down back at the 20. Tim Crumrye tripped him up, and it's in all likelihood a holding penalty against Detroit.
Again, some of those holds come when the quarterback doesn't get rid of the football. One of the things that I think this club needs to be able to do with Kramer, particularly early in the game,
holding offense number 75. Penalty is refused. 2nd down.
Call things that give him a chance to throw quickly or throw it away. The offensive linemen take the blame for that, but they're trying to hold on, and eventually they grab the guy.
Lomas Brown guilty of holding. As you saw, he's the only starter in the offensive line for the Lions today who was a starter on their offensive line last year. He's been a Pro Bowl player each of the last 2 years, and even more greatly honored last season when he was selected to the All-Madden team. That's the end of the first quarter with the score: the Bengals 3 and the Lions nothing. Looking forward to that Monday at 8 here on CBS. Lions looking at 2nd down and 14 at the 21-yard line of Cincinnati, trailing 3-0 as the second quarter begins. Sanders tripped up after he got back across the 20, and again there is a flag down. David Fulcher tripped him up.
Detroit is in essence trying to run 2 different offenses. They were a run and shoot football team last year, and now they're trying to incorporate
number 80 offense. Penalty is refused. 3rd down.
Cincinnati's refusing a lot of those penalties, but they're trying to get into a more physical running style of offense. We'll talk more about that as the game goes on, but sometimes when you try to do both, there is a few problems caused by that. That time they were in motion in the backfield.
This is kind of an even matchup here because the Bengals defense is the NFL's worst on 3rd down. The Lions offense is 2nd worst on 3rd down among all NFL offenses.
They're coming.
On 3rd and 11. They do blitz. It's well picked up to the end zone. Dropped. Herman Moore juggled it but couldn't corral it as Rod Jones had the coverage.
Well, they're definitely going to try to work on Rod Jones, and he did a nice job that time. Here again, you see the pressure they're trying to put on up the middle. Basically, the Detroit offensive line does a nice job of picking it up. He just took his eyes off it right at the end, probably trying to look forward to get his feet down. Took his eyes off the ball, didn't catch it. Now they have to go for the field.
With the rookie Jason Hansen, who has made 7 in a row. This is a 35-yard try out of the hold of Jim Arnold. And make it 8 in a row for Hansen. 3-3 the score. Back in just a moment.
Sponsored by Budweiser.
The Bengals scored first on a 40-yard field goal by Jim Breach. The Lions have just knotted the score on a 35-yarder by Jason Hansen. And Barry Sanders now just 13 yards away from becoming the Lions' all-time leading rusher. And Eric Kramer's been on target, but unfortunately for the Lion quarterback, he threw an interception, which James Francis returned 41 yards to set up the Cincinnati field goal. Hansen out of Washington State. His alma mater had a big win yesterday over their in-state rivals, the Washington Huskies. And Austell Miles takes a knee and downs it. The Bengals will begin at the 20-yard line. 3 plays and out on 2 possessions today for the Bengal offense.
They started slowly last week and really didn't come alive until the 4th quarter, when they went into what amounted to a 2-minute offense in the whole 4th quarter. And here again, they're starting out slowly now. They're not making much on the first down run.
They have gotten away from the no-huddle offense, but not completely abandoned it. David Trula says ultimately he'd like to get to a point where they mix in the no-huddle, but don't use it as the staple of their offense. Dumped off to the tight end, Craig Thompson. And he's out of bounds, close to a first down. The crowd groans. They thought he was roughed out of bounds by Benny Blades, who had help from Melvin Jenkins.
Detroit was in a zone defense and dropped off quickly, and the veteran quarterback tried to hold it just long enough. Boom, got the ball right to Thompson, who got a chance to move forward for a first down, or basically 2nd and 1.
Dave Shula had nice things to say about Craig Thompson yesterday. He hopes that Thompson will become a more regular part of the Cincinnati offense. Came out of North Carolina A&T this year with a reputation for being a good receiver. Heading in the wrong direction is Harold Green. Esiason knocks down Jerry Ball with a block, but it doesn't matter. A nightmare for Green as he's down inside the 15-yard line.
Well, that's why they call Boomer right there. It was a heck of a block on his part. That's a shame. Now they're 2nd and 1. We get a look at the replay. Green starts and is pushed wide. Jamison does a great job of defeating him. Now Green stuck. Watch Boomer come in there and lay a vicious blow. And boy, he picked up Jerry Ball. My goodness, what a block. Jerry Ball's going to hear about that all week. Say, a quarterback did that to you?
Jerry told us last week that he weighs 317 pounds. So that's what Boomer threw himself into. He gave away 100 pounds in that matchup. Then he gave away the football. It was stripped by Pritchett, and it appears that the Lions have recovered. They have. Inside the 10-yard line. The ball recovered by Dan Owens.
Watch here when we see it again how much this pocket collapses. Walter just collapses over on the right side of the screen. Then instead of staying with his man, tries to take a dive. Pritchett gets his hand on it and the ball's knocked away. One of the things that offensive linemen cannot do is cut. Sometimes you're stuck and you have to. But boy, as soon as you lose your feet, go after the guy's legs. If you miss him, he has a straight shot at the quarterback. And Esiason held it a little long again. And Detroit has a chance to score.
Turnovers now even at 1 apiece. And the Lions in business, 1st and goal at the 9-yard line. 3-3 to score. We've played 2 minutes of the 2nd quarter. Sanders thrown down for no gain. Rod Jones up from the corner. Ricardo McDonough, the inside linebacker, also in on the play. 6 carries and 43 yards now for Sanders.
That's where your corners really have to help you. A lot of the theory that teams use in stopping the running game is to force the back wide, force him to go sideways towards the sideline, and ultimately the corner, who usually is unblocked, can come up and make the tackle. Now, there are some corners in this league who say, no, that's not in my contract. I'm a cover guy. But if you have corners that can cover and are willing to come up and tackle, it makes a big difference in how you play the run.
2nd and goal. They credited Sanders with a gain of 1 on the last carry. 4 wideouts into the game. Flag thrown as Kramer throws. Incomplete. Intended for Mike Farr, and David Fulcher was there just as the ball arrived. And another flag against the Lions. Maybe close to those 7 penalties of last week had Cincinnati not turned down a couple of these infractions against Detroit.
Well, I'm sure Wayne Fonts is furious. You just can't keep putting up with this.
Motion, number 80 offense. Penalty is refused. 3rd down.
It's the 2nd time Perriman has been called for illegal motion. The Lions, to a man, continue to maintain we haven't quit. We're playing hard. Wayne Fonts said so yesterday. But aren't these mental mistakes indicative of a team that maybe really isn't focused as well as it should be?
Or worried. When you play worried, those kind of things happen. But whatever it is, you've got to stop it. And this football team is just destroying themselves. They make good plays, but they balance that out with those kind of mental errors that defeat them.
On 3rd and goal for the 8. Kramer again with plenty of time, throws to Perriman. He lost the ball. And fortunately for Detroit, it went out of bounds back at the 10-yard line. Barney Bussey knocked it loose as Perriman was trying to struggle to get to the goal line. And the field goal unit comes on again, and Kramer wants to see a replay as he looks up at the message board.
Well, they ran a crossing pattern, I think, assuming that they had man-to-man. And what happens is everybody stays in the zone. See everybody drop. Now he's waiting, throwing the crossing pattern, but there's a guy waiting for him. Comes up, Thomas comes up and makes a good tackle, knocks the ball loose. Excellent play, excellent call of zone pass coverage down and close where there really isn't much room to throw the ball.
Jason Hansen out of the hold of Jim Arnold. A 27-yard field goal gives Detroit its first lead of the afternoon. In a battle of field goals with 11:51 to play in the first half, the Lions lead by 3. Sean McDonough with John Robinson back in Cincinnati, where the skies are brightening and where the Detroit Lions have just taken a 6-3 lead. And coach, this game to this point really a microcosm of the way these two teams have played lately.
Yes, you know, they say some things don't change, and right now neither of these teams are able to change what they've done. Detroit makes good plays, but hurts themselves with bad plays. 5 penalties, an interception, and a fumble so far.
Hansen with another booming kickoff that will not be returned. It was dropped by Austell Miles in the end zone, but Milt Stegall fell on it and covered it, so Boomer Esiason and company will again begin at their own 20-yard line. 1/3 of a yard per play to this point for the Cincinnati offense. They came into the game to the Bengals ranked 25th in the National Football League in total offense, 8th in rushing, but 27th in passing, and as a result, Boomer has been hearing some boos here at home this year. Boomer dumped it off to Harold Green, and he gained 6 to the 26.
This slow start by Cincinnati has really flattened this crowd out. I think they came here. They've got the reputation of being a noisy, active crowd. But when you don't make a first down in the first quarter, there's not a lot to cheer about. And I think they've got to put a drive together here somewhere to avoid that kind of slipping into the same abyss they went in last week.
We saw David Klingler charting the plays next to Dave Shula. Green again. Stopped just short of a first down. Mark Spindler made the tackle with help from George Jamison. And there's some growing feeling here in the Cincinnati area that if the Bengals lose today and really see their playoff hopes fade away, David Klingler might get a chance to play very soon.
Well, he's the future. They drafted him high, believing that he's going to be the difference down the road. And there becomes a time when if you pay a guy that much money, you got to get something back, and he's got to start getting some training.
Dave Shula would only say we do have a plan for the future, but I can't talk about what it is. Derek Fenner in short yardage with the extra effort to pick it up. First down today for Cincinnati, and it took a good solo effort by Fenner in his first year with the Bengals to advance the ball across the 30.
Fenner did a lot of things for this team last week, late in the ball game, and they plan to play him more. I think they wanted to start with Harold Green and bring Fenner on as things went on, but if something doesn't start happening in the running game, we'll see Fenner in there very soon.
When Eric Ball sprained his ankle last week at New York against the Jets, Fenner came in, rushed for 92 yards on just 8 carries. Boomer to the sideline, intercepted. Melvin Jenkins stepped in front of Carl Pickens and picked it off. And here come those boos we were talking about.
Well, I think they're justified. The guy was covered. Jenkins had him all the way, and he threw the ball a little short. He didn't put enough air on it to give the offensive man a chance. Here's Boomer back, looks away, does a nice job, but that ball just doesn't get enough air, and you can see Perkins had no chance of catching the ball. That was a giveaway to the defense. If you're going to throw the ball man-to-man with 2 people running stride for stride, the quarterback's got to give some air, put some air under the ball, so it's one of those high balls that has a chance to fall in, and Perkins has great size, can go up and get it, but he didn't have a chance there.
Jenkins with his 3rd interception, and it's a triumphant return to Cincinnati for Melvin. He played his college football here at the University of Cincinnati for the Bearcats. Lions with a 6-3 lead. Kramer to throw on first down, looking for Perriman. And Brett, I think, is a bit relieved that sailed over his head, because had that been on target, he was lined up by David Fulcher.
And I think that's basically what Kramer has to do. Take a quick look. If there's nothing there, throw the ball away. Let yourself be 2nd and 10. Detroit has got weapons, and they do a lot of very positive things, but they have, as we said, made a lot of mistakes. As long as you got Barry Sanders in your backfield, you've got a real threat. On 2nd and 10, which is usually a passing down, probably the #1 fear that Cincinnati has now is look out for this guy on the draw play. Let's see if it happens. They're all coming up to stop it, and I think Kramer's changing the play.
And he throws to the sideline, incomplete, looking for Willie Green. Eric Thomas had the coverage.
He did change the play that time. I think he thought it was a blitz coming on 2nd and 10. He changed it, and I'm not sure Green really understood what he wanted to do, because that was a no chance play. But again, those are the things that happen when you're 2nd and 10. In football now, the 2nd and 10 is becoming one of the crucial downs, because there's so much blitzing and so many people are coming after you. You've got to get to the right play.
Certainly reasonable of Kramer to expect a blitz, since the Bengals have been blitz happy all year, with 34 sacks coming into today's game. They had only 21 to the Bengals all of last year. This is 3rd and 10. Lions operating from their own 38. Green, and it batted away and intercepted. Thomas batted it. Jones picked it off. And he's tackled by Sean Bowens at the 40-yard line. Thomas made the play to get a hand on the pass. It fell into the arms of Rod Jones, his 2nd interception of the year.
Great play by Thomas. He just timed the thing perfectly. You're going to get a chance to see Green up on top. The deep end. Look at Thomas who's come with him. Ball's a little late. Gets that one hand in there to knock it loose. Knocked it loose right to his partner. I'm sure Thomas is saying, hey, give me half of that interception.
And the turnovers are even at 2 apiece. Back to the ground. And Harold Green struggled to gain 2.
It's tough running in the middle against Detroit. Jerry Ball, a Pro Bowl nose man, makes it very difficult. You've got to double team him if you really expect to have any chance to really control him. And then that allows, pretty much a one-on-one for everybody else in the line. And we have Spielman and some of the others there. It makes it hard to make yards inside.
Detroit leads 6-3, under 9 minutes to play in the first half, and the Bengals have it 2nd and 8. at the Detroit 38. Harold Green now at 7 carries for -2 yards rushing. Bear in mind he lost 15 on 1 carry. He'll gain considerable yardage on this one. Upended, but not before he picked up a first down at the 28. It was Benny Blades who came up from his safety spot to get Green airborne.
Here we see the Detroit defensive end on the outside coming up the field fast, and it makes an easy block. Once Green is past him, now there's not much left, and he's got a chance to make a big run and gets the first down.
Again, the Bengals quickly out of the huddle, and now Esiason is surveying the defense and calling the play at the line. The line is the 28 of Detroit. Draw play. Green again slips down as he tried to turn the corner. He picked up 3. Mentioned earlier that it rained here overnight and this morning for much of the morning, and obviously the field is still wet in spots.
Cincinnati back in about 5 or 6 years ago was the original team really to come in with 3 wide receivers, let their quarterback look at the defense. If you responded by putting extra defensive backs in the game, they audibilized to a running game. They were several years ahead of everybody else in that kind of theory, which they're trying to employ here again today.
2nd and 7. Green. Again close to a first down. He has it at the 17-yard line. Chris Spielman and Benny Blades combined on the stop, and John Melander provided the blocking out in front of Harold Green.
Here's a screen pass to Green. They're coming with a 4-man line. It's the screen set to the right. You see Green just go over there and stop. Offensive lineman down in front of him. You just tell the lineman take a shot at the guy, and the back will find the lane. And that time Detroit again very soft playing pass gave them an opportunity.
Green came into the game the leading rusher and receiver for the Bengals on 1st and 10. Nearly intercepted again. Boomer threw it into a crowd, and it was Melvin Jenkins who nearly came down with his 2nd interception.
Quarterback like Boomer, who throws well on the run. Boomer Esiason probably throws as well as anybody on the run. They try to get him on a rollout so he can get outside and get a chance to get extra time throwing the ball. Watch, they try to pin the Detroit lineman. Jerry Ball comes out, and late the pressure comes. That ball really was a, that was a hope rather than something. There are a lot of guys around.
2nd and 10. From the 17 of Detroit, the Lions lead 6-3 with 6:36 left in the 2nd quarter. Pritchett couldn't take Esiason down, and Green couldn't take the pass down.
Well, again, it was a big zone drop. Everybody dropped back around the 5-yard line. There was no hope back in there, so he had to dump the ball off, and he didn't get the ball caught. Some of the most difficult passes, Sean, for a quarterback to complete are the 6- and 7-yard passes where the ball has to be put right on the money. You're usually throwing to a receiver who's not that great a receiver and can't adjust to the ball too well, and that's really what happened. They might have had a 6- or 7-yard gain if they had executed that part of the game.
You made an interesting point yesterday when we watched practice that you feel quarterbacks don't spend enough time on concentrating on putting those short 7- or 8-yard passes right on the numbers. Esiason with running room. He dives for the marker, and it will depend on the spot. He's very close to a first down to the 7-yard line. Benny Blades chased him out.
Again, one of the things about zone drops down on the goal line, everybody runs back in the end zone. And now we see the speedy Boomer Esiason take off. He's been one of the most competitive players in this league, no question about it. And I think he plays best when he's doing those kinds of things.
And he did pick up the first down just inside the 7-yard line on 1st and goal. Green skipped down to the 5. Mark Spindler at the bottom of the pile for Detroit. It's been a long road to the NFL for Harold Green. His dad, Harold Sr., is retired from the Air Force, and Harold has lived in 20 different states and in 5 countries, including the Philippines and Japan, Panama, and Cuba. He's out of South Carolina, the second all-time leading rusher at that school, behind only the great George Rogers. Boomer all day, incomplete. Eric Ball was wide open in the back of the end zone, and the ball went through his hands.
Again, I think he was trying to look for Ball right now. Ball went down and then wound up behind the coverage. Watch Ball, who's in the slot right by the 10-yard line there. He's down. There's nothing much there for him except Ball sneaks in behind the linebackers. Ball's not the kind of receiver that a defensive back has to cover. They tried to cover him with linebackers, and they didn't cover him. But then Ball wasn't able to be the kind of receiver to catch the ball. So now they're third down. 4 wide receivers in the game now.
Ball's only caught 5 all year. Maybe that's why. They toss it to Ball, and he doesn't get to the end zone. Taken down at the 2, Dan Owens. At the bottom of the pile for Detroit, Kelvin Pritchett also in on the tackle, and the crowd boos as Dave Shula sends Jim Breach out. And there is an injured Lion on the play, Dan Owens, in his 3rd year out of Southern California. Is the injured man. Cincinnati will try to tie it with a field goal when we come back. Welcome back to Cincinnati, where Dan Owens is just now on his feet and walking off. Glad to see him going off under his own power. He was the first USC defensive player to start every game of his 4-year career for the Trojans.
Well, I bet he lost a little money last night to his, to his friends. It was a tough night for the Trojans.
They drop one to UCLA. Jim Breach on for what is just about an extra point, except that it's from the right hash mark. Ball will be spotted at the 11-yard line. Officially a 21-yard try for Breach. Johnson juggled the hold, but no problem. Breach 2 for 2 today, and 11 for 11 this year from inside 40 yards. We're tied again at 6 and back after this. It's a complete field of other top pros. That's the Shark Shootout following football this afternoon here on CBS Sports. Lee Johnson will kick off following the field goal, officially of 20 yards by Jim Breach, that tied the game again at 6 apiece. Johnson has popped up a couple of kickoffs, trying to give the coverage team time to run down at Mel Gray, the best return man in the NFL. This time he drives it, but again it's out of bounds. And again they'll take it to the 35. Mel Gray's good, but this might be taking it to an extreme.
And what they're doing is they're playing into Mel Gray's hand.
35-yard line, 1st and 10.
Mel Gray has already gotten a plus 30 in his kickoff returns. It won't show in his stats, but when you let them start their offense on the 35, anything past the 20 is plus. So Mel Gray's got a plus 30. So Cincinnati is defeating themselves. And as soon as you say that, they kick it to him. He runs it back for a touchdown. So who knows?
6-6 the score. Just under 5 minutes to play in the first half as the Lions begin 1st and 10 at their own 35. The tight end Jimmy Johnson in motion. Francis coming from outside linebacker, and he dropped Kramer for a loss back to the 31-yard line. Second sack of the day for James Francis, and his 5th of the season.
One of the strategies of the Cincinnati defense is to try to make Barry Sanders. Here we're going to see Francis come and have Barry Sanders be forced to block him. And that has been very successful for them, because 2 of the sacks and 1 fumble cause. There you see Francis come. Barry Sanders has got no chance. The first time he was going to cut him, that time he tried to stay up and lost him.
Barry wanted no part of Mr. Francis, who came off the corner at 252 pounds. Francis watched Sanders run away from him that time and pick up the first down. All the way out to the 50-yard line, and with that run, Barry Sanders is now the all-time leading rusher in Detroit Lion history. He has moved past Billy Sims atop the Lions' all-time rushing list. 62 yards today for Barry Sanders.
Watch how quickly he's through the hole. Johnson does a nice job of the block. Boom, he's right by into the secondary, and is he scary there? Almost without exception, the first tackler at Barry Sanders cannot get a hold of him or even slow him down.
Now 5,113 career rushing yards for Sanders. He's only in his 4th year. Flag thrown as Barry dances into Cincinnati territory. He gained 8 if the play stands. There are 2 flags down. Barry Sanders actually climbed past 2 men on the Lions all-time rushing list today because Dexter Bussey was number 2 when the day began, only 1 yard behind Billy Sims. It's a holding call against Detroit. That'll bring the Lions back into their own end of the field. Jimmy Johnson, the tight end, the guilty party.
He's been the lead blocker right ahead of Barry Johnson. That time Francis stunted inside of him, and Johnson just kind of reached out and grabbed him. I think Francis surprised him a little bit as he went by him. He just had to grab him, or else he might have had a clear shot at Sanders.
First and 20. Approaching 3 minutes remaining in the half. The delay to Sanders. Sanders across the midfield stripe and out of bounds in Bengal territory at the 47. Darrell Williams knocked him out. That's a gain of 13. Sanders up to 75 yards rushing this afternoon.
Barry Sanders is going to start on a draw play, and we're going to stop it just a little bit forward as Barry starts to get the football. Now stop it right there. Now he's really lost in that crowd. You really can't see him, but he's going to pop right outside here. Look at him just pull away from people. Now to come up the field. Look at the acceleration. Look how slow everybody looks that's chasing him. I don't know what he's got a deal. Say, when I run, everybody slow down. But boy, he is something. I'll tell you.
2nd and 7. 6-6 the score. They set up the screen, and Perryman dropped it.
Perryman has not had a good second quarter. He's been involved with a fumble, a drop pass here, a couple of backfield motions. One of the outstanding players for them, a young player who's doing very, very well for Detroit. But I think there's a 15-minute period here. You just as soon forget.
He's in his 5th year out of the University of Miami. He was a college teammate all 4 of his years with the Hurricanes of Benny Blades, now his teammate with the Lions. Kramer started out 4 for 4. Now he's 7 for 14. But as Coach mentioned, he's had a couple of the balls dropped, including the last one. Movement along the line, but no flags. Perryman catches that one for a first down. Out of bounds at the 37-yard line. Tackled by Ricky Dixon. But Perryman gained 10 to move the chains for the Lions.
Nice job by Kramer that time. He slowed the starting count down and then gave a voice inflection, trying to give everybody a chance to see where the blitz was coming. Again, they're trying to bring the middle linebacker or somebody to make Barry Sanders have to block. Kramer got rid of the ball quickly that time. He knew it was man coverage. Bang, they get a first down. Nice job by the quarterback. Nice job of recognizing what's going on. And I think they all probably, everybody knows the strategy now that Cincinnati is pursuing is force Barry Sanders to block somebody on any time we try to throw the ball.
2-minute warning in Cincinnati with the Lions and Bengals tied at 6. The sun is now shining on the Queen City of Cincinnati, Ohio, or the 2-minute warning in the first half. The Bengals and Lions are tied at 6. A pair of field goals for each team. The Lions with 2 timeouts remaining. The Bengals with all 3. Wayne Fonts made the point to us yesterday. He thought the offensive line play of Detroit was better last week. The blocking was better, and I think we saw it on that last play when they completed the pass to Perryman.
And I think they're much more intelligent. They're picking things up. You know, it's been the backs and the receivers who have been the guys that have caused penalties here.
On 1st and 10, Kramer dodged the rush, and his pass went through the hands of Willie Green. He was covered by Eric Thomas.
Detroit has plenty of time now. They got great field position. They've got a minute and 54 seconds and 2 timeouts, so they're in a great position to go down and get points. Last week in the game, when they got to the 2-minute warning, all kinds of catastrophes seemed to happen, and they were ineffective. Again, the finesse part of the game seems to be what is causing Detroit the most problem. I'm impressed with the weapons they have and their use of the weapons. It's the consistency that's killing.
2nd and 10 at the Cincinnati 36. This is the 7th play of the drive. It began at Detroit's 35. Sanders, how about this run? Barry Sanders gets a block from Perryman and goes out of bounds near the 10-yard line. He should have been stopped at the line of scrimmage, and perhaps only Barry Sanders among all backs in the NFL turns it into the big gainer.
We're going to look at this at a low angle now. Watch the number of people that miss Barry Sanders. As we start there, right there, boom, there's one miss. There's 2, 3. Now he's off. There's 4. And there's about 3 more guys that are going to miss on this way. He makes those 2 guys run into. He does stuff that you just can't believe. Those guys are all saying, man, I just made that kid's highlight film again this year. You know, and he's phenomenal.
And 101 yards now on 9 carries for Sanders. It's his 4th 100-yard game of the year. And he's still at 101 as he goes down to the line of scrimmage. Perhaps even a little bit of a loss as Alfred Williams busted through to trip him up with 100 yards today. It's the 23rd 100-yard game of Barry's career, and he has also tied Billy Sims now for most 100-yard rushing days in Lion history.
That's again how you've got to stop him. You've got to get him before he really gets going, and you've got to outnumber him on the line of scrimmage, which then makes the passing game a better, gives you a better chance of completing the pass. But boy, it's hard not to just keep giving that guy the ball. It doesn't matter how many guys are up there.
2nd and goal from just outside the 10. The delay to Sanders. And a great play by James Francis, who pursued him across the line and threw him down at the 10. 3rd and goal from there for Detroit. James Francis, an outstanding athlete. He went to Baylor to play both basketball and football, and did compete in both sports at the intercollegiate level for the Baylor Bears.
Here we're going to see Barry Sanders step away. Looks kind of a delayed, slightly delayed. Here's Francis coming now. Barry has run through a million of those tackles. You got to give Francis a lot of credit, because not a lot of guys make that kind of play on him.
6-6 the score. We're down to 20 seconds left in the half. 3rd down and goal for Detroit. Kramer complete, but Mike Farr couldn't get in. They'll spot him inside the 2. And with 10 seconds left in the half, the Lions stop the clock. It's 4th down. Will they go for a field goal or a touchdown? We'll find out in just a moment. The lead at the half. It's 9-6 Detroit as Hansen kicks his 3rd of the day. He's now made 10 field goals in a row. 9-6 Lions with 6 seconds left in the first half.
Well, again, they're frustrated about getting in the end zone. There was a nice drive. Again, we saw Barry Sanders be Barry Sanders and single-handedly almost get them down the field. There was just some great runs there. Somewhere along the way, Detroit has to do something. I almost thought Wayne might decide to go for the touchdown there just to try to do something to get this team jump started. They're due, as we say, a lot of positive things. They're going to go in at halftime now with a 9-6 lead, and they've done a lot of things that got Barry Sanders going. Now, if they can capitalize on what he's done with a couple of big passes in the second half, I'm sure they feel they're well on their way to a victory. Cincinnati, on the other hand, doesn't have enough time to really get much done here in the first half. They've got to come in and say, boy, we've got to get our offense moving. They just haven't had the ball very much, and when they've had it, they haven't done much with it.
Only 38 yards total offense in the first half of the Bengals. Mostel Miles from the goal line. Brought it out to the 22. And 1 second left on the clock. Toby Castone made the tackle for Detroit. Well, many of the Bengals told us yesterday that one of the big problems that they've had throughout this season is getting off to a slow start, and that is certainly the case today.
Well, David Schuler was very concerned about the way they practiced late in the week. In fact, he made them start a practice session all over after a poor first half. of their practice, and they've matched that with a poor first half in their performance here in today's game.
That practice was on Friday. That's the end of the first half. A battle of field goals, and the score: the Detroit Lions 9 and the Cincinnati Bengals 6.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Report. Is sponsored by Levi's Dockers. Nobody does color like Dockers.
Welcome back to our studios here in New York, everyone. Along with Terry Bradshaw, I'm Greg Gumbel. Those of you watching the Lions and the Bengals, you've seen Barry Sanders chalk up 102 yards and become the Lions' all-time leading rusher. The Lions leading the Bengals 9-6 at halftime. What a game going on at the Meadowlands. The Eagles and the Giants are tied at 20. And they are still 4 minutes away from halftime at the Meadowlands. It was 10-6 when Dave Meggett took this kickoff from his own 8.
8 yards, 92-yard kickoff return, Greg. I believe this is the first time in 20 years a Giant has taken a kickoff back for a touchdown. Great downfield blocking, excellent across-field running by Meggett all the way.
But then Jeff Hostetler did something you're not supposed to do.
Greg, you know, it's easy to say don't ever throw across the field, but you don't want to, and this is the reason why. Defensive players have the angle to cut underneath passes. Joyner does. Touchdown.
And then Herschel Walker from 11 yards out just moments ago with the extra point. The Eagles tie it up. Randall Cunningham has thrown one to Herschel Walker, and Herschel runs for another now. It's 20-20 as they approach halftime. We talked in the pregame show about the kind of defense the Giants would have to play against the Eagles.
Well, one of the things the Giants said we thought they had to do in the NFL today was we thought they had to blitz Cunningham. He doesn't have a lot of confidence. So you always get after guys that don't have a lot of confidence. Look at Lamar and McGriggs, and now look at this safety. As a quarterback, I see this guy over here. I said, that's a blitz. All right. Put big Herschel on him. Herschel can't block. That's all right, because we got Eric Howard coming from the nose tackle position. He gets the sack. So now Kotite says, we can't handle this pocket stuff because we get blitzed. So let's get Randall, who can really run, get him in the shotgun, get him outside. Nobody out here. Now, Randall, what do you want to do? You can throw it, you can run it. Randall says, well, I'm going to run it. No, I'm going to pull up. I'm going to find Barnett down the middle. There it is. Beautiful job. You blitz me and you sack me, then I'm smart enough. I'm going to take a great athlete like Cunningham, get him outside, let him have the option run or pass. Beautiful job by Cunningham.
Defense is not at a premium today. 3:35 still to play in the first half. 40 points on the board already. It's a 20-20 tie at the Meadowlands. At Rich Stadium in Buffalo, if this was a fight, they'd stop it. The Bills are leading the Falcons 35-0. Jim Kelly, 15-yard TD pass to Andre Reed, and then they can do it on the ground, too. Kenneth Davis has scored twice today. This is a dandy.
Oh, this is beautiful. This guy's a Plan B acquisition out of TCU, the Horned Frogs, Norm Boulash's home school. There he goes down the field. He'll love I said that. All the way. Nice job.
Still a minute and a half to play at Buffalo. It's 35-0 Bills. At Miami, the Oilers with a 3-point lead on the Dolphins as they approach halftime at Joe Robbie. At Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, the Steelers leading the Colts 13-0 as they approach halftime there. Barry Foster has already recorded his 8th 100-yard rushing game of the season. The Browns are leading the Vikings at Minnesota 13-0 in the second quarter. And halftime at Soldier Field in Chicago, the Packers lead the Bears 10-3. And the NFL today continues here on CBS after this word from your local station. Our New York studio, everyone. As we approach Thanksgiving Day, we want to pause and update a story that has turned from tragedy to inspiration over the past 12 months. The story is Mike Utley's slow recovery from a paralyzing spinal cord injury, and the inspiration is something we can all share. It was a year ago this week against the Rams when Utley suffered his injury. The doctors said it would take a miracle for him to regain feeling and movement in his legs. Well, maybe miracles are the product of hard work. Utley's got some feeling back in his legs, and he can wiggle his toes. And Mike Utley has a goal: to return to the football field one final time and leave it, this time under his own terms.
I will wheel on the field one day in a chair, and I will walk off. I don't care if I'm in crutches. I don't care if I'm in a walker, cane. I don't care. I will walk off the football field one day. Now, tomorrow, who knows? A year from now, I don't care when, but I will do it.
Mike Utley is part of the good things we can keep in mind this Thanksgiving holiday season. A reminder, include us in your holiday plans this coming Thursday. Terry and I will have a special holiday edition of the NFL Today at 3:30 Eastern Time with a look at the Dallas Cowboys' re-emergence as America's team, and then we'll see those Cowboys in action against the Giants at Texas Stadium. Right now, it's time to send you back to the stadium and the game you're watching here on CBS.
Welcome back to Cincinnati at halftime. 3 field goals by Jason Hanson, 2 by Jim Breach, and the Lions lead 9-6. We'll return with more halftime activities in a moment. Welcome back to Cincinnati at the half. The Detroit Lions lead the Cincinnati Bengals by a score of 9-6. I'm Sean McDonough along with John Robinson and Anthony Munoz. And guess which one of us was an all-pro tackle 11 times in the National Football League? Unfortunately, Anthony went down with a knee injury last week in the game at the Meadowlands, and it had to be tough to watch, particularly considering that your club only had 41 yards in offense in the first half. They really struggled.
Struggled quite a bit. To see the defense get a couple of turnovers and really play well. I thought the first half, and the offense to go out there and not really create anything. We got to do some things in the second half, and we have the people to do it. We're just not doing it.
What's your prognosis? They tell us you're out for the year, but do you want to come back and play some more next year?
Well, that's something that I'm sitting down with my wife, my family, and we're discussing that. Again, they're not going to perform surgery on the leg, and I just have to look at what Anthony Munoz is going to do next year a little closer now.
Anthony, the mix between Cincinnati and Anthony Munoz was a great one. You've done everything an offensive lineman could do. Tell us about the highlights of those many years.
Well, it has been, you know, coming here from Southern Cal, where I spent my 4 years under you, which were great years, and had the opportunity to play there, especially in that final game, the Rose Bowl. Then coming here to Cincinnati, it was such an acceptance when we first got here. Didi and myself got here to Cincinnati in 1980, and they accepted us with their arms open. And it's been a great 13 years that I've been playing, and you know, this is home now. We have 2 kids, 2 wonderful kids. They were born here. They've been raised here. And this is home. We plan on staying here after my career.
I saw the 11-year-old. He's as big as you are.
Anthony will stay with us for a while as we go to the third quarter. The kickoff through the end zone, and Boomer Esiason and company will begin again at the 20-yard line. Jason Hanson has done an excellent job on kickoffs this afternoon. Let's take a look at the halftime stats. Anthony and Bengal fans might want to look away from the TV screen as 41 yards and total offense pop up and 2 turnovers apiece. Time of possession just 12 minutes for Cincinnati. These 2 teams came into the game the bottom 2 in the league in time of possession. Lions last, Bengals second worst. Both at under 26 minutes and 20 seconds time of possession per game. First pass of the second half from Esiason, complete to Harold Green, and he brought the ball ahead to the 25-yard line for a gain of 5.
Esiason has had trouble getting the ball down the field. Their most effective plays against the Detroit zone have been looking downfield and then coming to a checkoff man. They're not going to huddle. They're going to try to jumpstart their offense with a little bit of a change here.
That's what Dave Shula says he thinks the no huddle can do, change the tempo a little bit. They spotted Green back at the 24-yard line, so a gain of 4. He was tackled on the last play by Spielman, his 9th tackle of the game already. Again, Esiason is off target. George Jameson had the coverage and nearly had the interception. Again, the fans groan.
Well, you know, a lot of criticism goes on the quarterback. It looks like he doesn't know how to throw the ball straight. But that time it was just a mixed communication between Riggs, the tight end, and I think he thought he was going to the left and Riggs thought it was supposed to go to the right, and they misread those things. When you play together over a lot of years, that rhythm just comes and it's natural. And when you're playing with players who haven't been in there, it's a little tougher.
So now 3rd down and 6. Just underway in the third quarter. Detroit leads 9-6. Boomer lost the ball. Tracy Scroggins knocked it out of his hand. Now it's recovered by Carl Pickens beyond the 30-yard line for a first down. Well, they needed a break, something to get them going, and that's not how they drew it up, but they'll take it.
Anthony Munoz, what play was this that they called a fumble forward?
This is the get the first down at all costs.
Any way you can.
Right.
It's hard for quarterbacks who have that ball ready to pass to put it away when they start to run, because they always think they're going to come back and throw it. But that was a break, and they need a break right now.
Up to the 31. Dan Owens had a chance to recover it for Detroit, but couldn't come up with it. Again, it's Green out to the 35. How about Boomer Esiason? We mentioned that he started to become the object of some criticism here in the local media and also hearing some boos from the fans. How's he dealing with that? It's something obviously new for him in his Cincinnati experience.
It really is something new, and I think he's dealing with it pretty well. He realizes that the lack of offense that we have is not all his fault. John made an excellent point where the receivers might run the wrong route, the linemen might miss a block. So there's a combination of different things, and I think Boomer's quite aware of that.
Play action fake, and the pass is caught by the tight end Jim Riggs. He had to lunge for it, and as a result he went down short of a first down. He's out to the 38-yard line. They'll need 3 to pick up a first down on 3rd down.
That time Query, the wide receiver, just really did I don't know if it was an excellent job, but it was an efficient job of cutting off the safety. Benny Blades was just screaming at the official that he was picked, which is an illegal act. But that time they didn't expect. I think officials looked for it down near the goal line. That time they got away with one.
Opening drive of the 3rd quarter. Detroit leads 9-6. Bengals at 3rd and 3 at their own 38. Boomer dropped the snap. And the Bengals got it back. Esiason himself covered it. But they'll have to punt.
Anthony, you talked about Jim McNally, the offensive line coach, who had a big part of your future. After we look at this just exchange problem with the quarterback and the center, all got away. Tell us about what Jim McNally's meant to your career.
Well, Jim McNally's meant all of what I've learned in the NFL in all 13 years. Not only stays with the same thing year after year, but he's the type of guy that works in the offseason, studying defenses, studying the defensive lineman, the moves, and adapts to it and gives us new technique every year. So our arsenal, as far as what we can do as a lineman, you gather and you get different things that are really helpful throughout your career.
A short wobbly punt by Lee Johnson, but he got a good roll, and it dribbled down to the 23-yard line. It wound up as a punt of 41 yards with no return. The Lions will get it for the first time in the second half in just a moment. With John Robinson, we're joined by the 11-time All-Pro tackle of the Cincinnati Bengals, Anthony Munoz, as Detroit is on offense for the first time in the second half, leading 9-6. 1st and 10 from their own 22. Eric Kramer tried to dump it off to Sanders, but he had a defender right with him, and Kramer goes down back at the 11-yard line. Lamar Rogers got to him, and standing right next to Barry Sanders was a Bengal defender.
Watch Gary Reasons. This is a screen pass now. Watch 52 Gary Reasons come after Barry Sanders. They're playing man coverage, so he looks him up right now, and he's with Sanders the whole time. So the quarterback just couldn't throw him the ball. He'd have had to throw it away, but he chose to hold on to it and lost 12 yards. Gary Reasons is the man that made that play work.
Only 21 sacks all of last year. 4 today for the Bengals. They now have 38 for this season. You saw their numbers coming into today's game. Kramer batted down. Darrell Williams, the rookie, 2nd round draft pick, or 2nd pick rather in the 1st round this year by Cincinnati, made the play.
Cincinnati defense is causing all the excitement here in this stadium today. It's you know, they've got them backed up now where it's 3rd down and a lot. I think it's very logical for them to think about draw play. Here's Kramer on a rollout. He's outside on the run. Doesn't quite get enough height on the ball, or he didn't expect Williams to be able to jump that much. He didn't realize Williams could stuff when he was playing high school basketball, right, Sean?
Kramer needs to hurry. 2 seconds to get the play off. He didn't get it off. And the whistle stopped the play. They can't hear the whistles as Sanders continues, but the play has been blown dead. The Lions did not get the play off in time.
That's a nice call, Sean. He was out. And I didn't hear the whistle.
On the offense, prior to the snap, there was no play. It would be 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Anthony, as you look at playing in the offensive line, an NFL offensive lineman coming into the league, much where Sargent is right now, how long does it take for him to develop his skills to where he's at the top of his game?
Well, first of all, I really believe it's who you're being taught by to begin with. The coaches play such a very important part, but it shouldn't take more than a year to year and a half, 2 years maximum. With the type of coaching you have in this league, you should come along. And prime example is Kevin Sargent, free agent from Eastern Washington, doing a tremendous job at left tackle.
3rd down and 27, as you might expect, the draw to Sanders, and as you might expect, the Bengals were ready for it. Barry made it out to the 12. Tim Crumry at the bottom of the pile. And the Lions have to punt, and many of the fans here at sold-out Riverfront Stadium are on their feet for the Bengal defense. This turned out to be a beautiful day with the temperature in the low 60s. Start out that way. Jim Arnold will punt from his own end zone, and he'll be punting it away to the leading punt returner in the NFL this season, Carl Pickens, the rookie out of the University of Tennessee. Arnold boomed a 62-yarder in the first half. That's a low-line drive. Pickens caught it at the 49. He's across the 40 and stacked up at the 38.
Pickens just
Castone again made the tackle.
Excuse me, Sean. Pickens just doesn't look like a punt returner, does he? He doesn't look like the kind of guy that you'd put back there, but he's done a great job.
9-6 Detroit. The Bengals have it back after this. Sean McDonough with John Robinson and Anthony Munoz, the injured offensive tackle of the Bengals, out for the rest of the season with a knee injury. We speculated about your future earlier. The sense that this is a rebuilding team, it seems like the Bengals management has been resisting putting a label on that. We'll talk about that in a moment. First and 10 for Boomer Esiason. His pass went through the hands of Carl Pickens, who slipped down at the 35-yard line. But Boomer Esiason told us yesterday he feels like this is a rebuilding situation, that his days here might be numbered with David Klingler waiting in the wings. Would that affect your decision at all, the sense that maybe this team is turning over in personnel?
Not at all. I don't believe it would. It's obvious that that's the direction they're taking. Nothing has to be said. All you have to do is look at the moves they're making, and it's obvious. But nothing like that would determine one way or the other for myself.
2nd and 10. 9-6 Detroit. 9:40 to play in the 3rd quarter. Derek Fenner spins down to the 34. He picked up 4. Tackled by Dan Owens, who's back in there after leaving the game in the first half with back spasms.
This is perhaps the most crucial down to date this far in this ball game. It's 3rd down and about 7. They've been given great field position, and they've got to do something with the football. They're a little bit out of field goal range, so this is a key down for Boomer.
3rd down and 6 from the 34. Flea flicker. Fenner gave it back to Esiason, and it is underthrown. Melvin Jenkins broke up the play. It was a little slow in developing because Tim McGee was several steps behind Jenkins, but Melvin closed the ground and knocked it away, and it's 4th down.
This is an unusual situation to try the flea flicker type of play. It's 3rd down. The rush is coming. We saw the rush did get to him, but he dodged it using his athletic ability, but there wasn't much chance down the field. They're going to go for it on 4th down. I think they have to. They're just outside of Breach's field goal range. So now what we said was the biggest play now is the 2nd biggest play. This is the biggest play.
4th and 6 from the Detroit 34. 9-6 Lions. Movement along the defensive front, and flags are down. McGee struggles to extend the ball and didn't quite get it to the 1st down marker, so the Bengals will hope, as it appeared, that the penalty is against the Lions, and it was for offside. They'll have another shot, this time at 4th down and 1.
Well, that was, again, you got to give Boomer Esiason some credit for that. I think his voice inflection on the starting count drew the defensive player offside and gives them a shot, 4th and 1.
Kelvin Pritchett, 2nd-year defensive end out of Mississippi, guilty of jumping across the line of scrimmage. Kelvin drafted in the 1st round last year by Dallas and then traded on draft day to Detroit. Now they'd really be perhaps in the outer extremities of Breach's field goal range.
And again, I think they just feel they have to do something. They may try to, to try to draw them offside again, but look for Eric Ball in the flat.
Fenner up and over. And he appears to have the first down. He's really been an outstanding short yardage man for your team, Anthony.
He really has. In the 4th and 1 situation, as I look throughout the year, I would think we're like 9 of 10 on 4th down conversion. So that for us, this is a position we enjoy being in, oddly enough.
Back a few years ago, Anthony, your offensive line was the best I had ever seen. I thought we used to look in the offseason and try to learn from that, and we also tried to trade for him. They wouldn't talk to us.
1st and 10 from the 27 of Detroit. Green ran into Ball as he was trying to block for him, and that tripped up Harold after a gain of 1. Obviously, a lot of new faces along the line now from the line that Coach Robinson was talking about. For you as a veteran player, you talked about the adjustment of a rookie like Sargent, but when new people join you along the line, how long is that process of getting the timing done?
It takes a while, and the thing that I've been fortunate, especially this past season or the short time I played this year, was that Bruce Kozerski, who I played next to for several years before he moved into center, I had a chance to play against or next to him this year, so the adjustment was not that difficult. But in the past, I've had several guards, and it can be very difficult making that adjustment.
Certainly, that comment rings true for Lions fans as well, because their line has really had to make some adjustments this year with the changes in personnel. Ripping through for the first down is Harold Green. He gained 11 before Tracy Scroggins and William White combined on the stop. 1st and 10 Cincinnati at the 15-yard line. Talk about the youth movement of the Bengals. Not only is David Shula the youngest head coach in the National Football League, but 12 rookies are on the 47-man roster of Cincinnati, more than any other team. 4 rookie starters. 29 of the 47 players on the active roster with 2 years or less National Football League experience.
Here again, Boomer Esiason checking off at the line of scrimmage. He's trying to evaluate the defense that he sees. He's got 3 wide receivers. He wants to run against that.
Green with some Barry Sanders-like moves, but he couldn't shed the defense. Chris Spielman, a Pro Bowler each of the last 3 years, and the way we've seen him play the last 2 weeks, you can make it 4.
And Kevin Scott did a real good job that time. Again, the play got stacked up, and that's when the corner has to come in and help you. Scott came in and made a good play, and now they pushed it back to 2nd and 13. The last few times we've seen Detroit slip back into a zone defense and force Boomer to throw the football short. Boomer's come. Cincinnati has responded by getting a tight end and a remaining back in there. So you may see another play action pass. It looks like another change of play.
On 2nd and 10 from the Detroit 17, the Lions lead 9-6. 5.5 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. Boomer dumps it off. Green thrown down for a loss by George Jameson. He played his college football here at the University of Cincinnati, and he made an impressive play to swing Green down. They'll mark Green's forward progress to the 20-yard line, but still a loss on the play.
That time Detroit crossed him up, played some man-to-man coverage. You'll see Jameson go right with Green now as Green watch Jameson start to run right with him, say, hey, I got you all the way. And he's there and he makes the tackle.
George Jameson voted by his teammates the Lions defensive MVP last year, despite the fact that he was not one of the 3 Lion defensive players who went to the Pro Bowl. 9th play of the drive. It's only covered 17 yards to this point. Boomer thrown down by Tracy Scroggins, the rookie out of Tulsa, way back at the 32-yard line. And based on what happened moments ago, you'd think that's too long for a field goal try of Jim Breach.
Well, Sargent, the offensive tackle, gave a little too much ground. They had a stun on, and they flushed Boomer, and from then on it was, he was at the mercy of the pass rush then. But it was that initial stunt that got the coverage coming, or got the blocking coming back into his face that kept him from having any real chance for success.
Scroggins starting for the injured Michael Kofer, who's out for the rest of the year with a left knee injury. This would be a 50-yard try for Breach, his longest of the season, only 41 yards. He's only 2 of 7 from beyond 40 yards, and that one came down a few yards short. So they decided not to try a field goal from about that range moments ago. This time on 4th down and a mile. They tried for the 3-pointer, but it came up short. Still a 3-point Detroit lead.
Watch 59 Scroggins as he starts up the field, put the pressure on Sargent's inside. That's the stunt they have. Scroggins puts enough pressure that Esiason is flushed and sacked.
And after the missed field goal, the Lions have it at their own 32, leading 9-6. It's been a scoreless 3rd quarter. Kramer going deep. He had Willie Green open, but the pass was too long. Green blew by Eric Thomas along the far sideline, but Kramer had a bit too much distance on it.
Anthony, that last sack we saw was at the young man who's filling in your position. You've seen a lot of those stunts. Comment on that last sack.
Well, what you have to do, you have to give your guard a chance to switch that stunt off. Therefore, allowing too much penetration, it cuts the corner down for the guy coming around on the loop. And Kozerski really didn't have a chance to force Sargent off and allow him to get the guy coming around, and that's where the penetration hurt not only the pocket, but you know, Sargent's chance of coming out and getting the guy coming around on the stunt, and that's why the pressure and the sack.
2nd and 10. Delay. Sanders in trouble in the backfield. This time they swarm him under. Led by Ricardo McDonough, the inside linebacker. It's a loss of 2 back to the 30.
Anthony, that was a very astute comment. Were those the things that I taught you at USC? That's good.
I tell you, coming in this league, you'd be surprised how much you taught us, preparing us for the NFL. And I'll say that from the first day I got to camp, not because you're here, but yourself and Hudson Houck, who's my line coach at SC. There was a lot of things I learned on my way to the NFL.
Well, speaking of coaches, you're playing for Dave Shula now. You're older than he is.
You had to bring that up. In fact, I'm a year older than Dave Shula.
But it seems like the players have really responded to him.
They really have. He's been a great organizer, a great detail person, and knows exactly what he wants done.
On 3rd and 12, Herman Moore with the first down for Detroit. Out to the 47-yard line before Leonard Wheeler took him down. A pickup of 17 for Herman Moore in his 2nd year out of the University of Virginia. He has 4 catches today for 53 yards.
Again, the deep end pattern. Wheeler just couldn't stay with him. They picked up the blitz. They're trying to give him a lot of man coverage in that particular area. Herman Moore's, I think, the new wave of receivers in the league. The big physical guy that runs those in-breaking patterns, and really, for a small corner, it's hard to defend against him.
Wayne Fonts had high praise for Herman Moore last week when he told us, I think Herman Moore could be another Jerry Rice. That's the highest possible praise for a wide receiver. Sanders turns it up and gets across midfield. A gain of nearly 4 for Barry Sanders. Again, Ricardo McDonald at the bottom of the pile. Barry Sanders has outgained Cincinnati himself by a margin of better than 2-1. Barry with 111 total yards, 108 of those rushing. Well, the Bengals have only 52 yards of total offense on 39 plays.
Sanders gets the 4- and 5-yard gains, but then every once in a while that 3rd and 4 and 5 turns into 44.
Final 2 minutes of the 3rd quarter. The Lions lead 9-6. That was their margin at halftime. Sanders bumped out of bounds by Darrell Williams. Daniel Stubbs also helped force the play with help from Alonzo Mitz.
Well, again, now they're starting to go to Barry Sanders. I'm sure they want to maintain control of the ball. They've got the Cincinnati offense pretty much shut down, and Cincinnati just isn't able to get their hands on the football to be able to establish anything. They came off on 3rd and 12 the last time. Now it's 3rd and much shorter. It gives the quarterback many more options when he's throwing the ball 3rd down and 4. The draw play is a viable play. I think we're going to see man-to-man coverage and a possible blitz, definitely a blitz coming.
On 3rd and 5, they do blitz. Kramer lofts it up for Green, who adjusted to the ball, couldn't handle it, but they throw a couple of flags at the feet of Eric Thomas.
I think that may be offensive pass interference. I had the feeling that Green was shoving off. It shows you how much I know. Those big receivers, those long arms, they kind of get in the way of the cornerback, and sometimes he's just
defensive pass interference. Number 22, first down.
I I thought Cincinnati showed that blitz a little early. Here we see Thomas way down the bottom of the right of your screen. He kind of hooked him as Moore started to stop. You saw Moore with his hand on him, and Green just kind of here. Here you see Moore with the hand on him, and Green reach up and grab him. He really didn't slow him down much, but you saw the hand on the jersey, and that's what the official calls. They want to have an objective thing to call. They saw the hand, they called the penalty.
First penalty of the day against Cincinnati at the 32 of the Bengals. On the draw, Sanders. Shirt tackled by Gary Reasons. Looked like Barry was about to escape again, but Reasons took him down at the 34 for a loss of 2. Reasons in his first year with Cincinnati after 8 seasons with the New York Giants.
Anthony, as you played your time in the league, was there any one pass rusher that gave you a lot of trouble? There weren't many, I know that. But was there one guy that sticks out?
Guys that stick out. I got about 3 or 4 guys that stick out right away. Fred Dean, who you remember with the Chargers and the 49ers, Leroy Selman, and of course Bruce Smith, who's still active, having a great year this year, and of course Derek Thomas, outside back for the Kansas City Chiefs.
On second down, Sanders scoots through the hole and picks up a first down for Detroit as he's down to the 19-yard line. A gain of 14 for Barry Sanders. Again, James Francis called upon to make the stop. Anthony, thanks so much for visiting with us during halftime in the third quarter. Good luck to you with your knee.
All righty, enjoyed it. Enjoyed talking to you guys.
Yeah. See you, Anthony.
That's the end of the third quarter with the score. Detroit 9 and Cincinnati 6.
Here we get a look at a running back, a great running back, picking his hole. We start the action, and he is moving forward, and we will stop it just right there. Now you see the opportunity right in here. Here he is, and here you see him give an opportunity to make a decision. Watch him accelerate through that hole. Watch him challenge the safety man right now and go right on by him. I could spend all day just watching that guy run with the ball.
123 yards rushing now for Sanders, his best game of the year. The pass is caught by Mike Farr along the far sideline at the 12-yard line. A couple of yards short of the first down. Kramer to Farr for the third time today. Mike Farr only entered this ball game with 9 catches all year. He didn't have any last week.
Cincinnati is trying to put as much pressure on Barry Sanders to block, and Barry Sanders doesn't do a good job, and then Stubbs puts the pressure on Kramer, who's down. But when quarterbacks get hurt on those kind of things, they put those hands down on that turf, and sometimes that causes sprains to the thumb and wrist.
2nd and 4 at the Cincinnati 13. Been a scoreless second half to this point. We're down to 14-15 to play in the fourth quarter. Lions lead 9-6. Kramer to the end zone. Incomplete. Eric Thomas got a hand on it. The pass was intended for Willie Green, and it wasn't Kramer's best effort of the day.
Well, again, he didn't get rid of the ball soon enough so he could put some air under it to let Green get a chance to jump for it. He threw the line drive. The corner wasn't in great place to make the play, but the ball thrown late and thrown on a flat angle gave the cornerback Thomas a chance to make a play.
Setting up 3rd down and 4. Lions 3 of 9 on 3rd down today. Sanders. It will be close. Bengals jumping on the pile, indicating the ball has come free. The officials say no, he was down.
From the looks at the mark, that's going to have to be measured. That's right down in it. It's going to be an interesting decision for Fonz if it is not a first down. They're up 3 now. If you go up 6, that's, you know, the touchdown still beats you. So it'll either be 4th and 1 or 1st and goal from the 9.
They're going to call out the chains.
Sean, I think with a Barry Sanders on my team, 4th down, I would go for this. Again, I think the need to get more than just 6 up is the crucial decision here. And this team needs to get the confidence of putting the ball in the end zone. Here's a place where you challenge them. Our conversation doesn't mean anything because they got the first down.
But I was with you. I think when you're 2-8, what difference does it make, really? You might as well play aggressively and play to win.
The psychology of offense has to have that thing of saying, hey, we can do it. Sometimes you can really hurt your own team by by settling for the percentage choice. Now, you can't be too big a gambler because that winds up hurting you, but if that had happened, I think the right move would have been to go for it.
This drive better than 6 minutes, and the Lions dominating in time of possession today. First and goal from the 9. A minute and a half gone by in the fourth quarter. Sanders thrown down by David Fulcher. It looked like a more promising play for Detroit for a couple of moments, but Fulcher, a Pro Bowler on 3 occasions, closed the ground quickly and throw down Sanders.
Fulcher was really the strong safety in the NFL 5 years ago when people played a tight end all the time. You can see him there. He's built like a linebacker and just a tremendous tackler and tremendous power. Now people are using so much 4 wide receivers and 3 wide receivers that they've taken away some of his strengths. But you saw him there run the best back in football down for a 2-yard gain.
He is big for a safety at 6'3", 238. 131 yards rushing for Sanders. They give it to him again. Around the corner, touchdown.
Well, it's ironic that we talked about it because he had the same opportunity against Sanders this time. Sanders gave him a little hesitation step, and it was all over. If he can make you pause a little bit as you pursue him, and he accelerates so fast. Here we're going to see this from a low angle, and look how quickly he comes, how he regains his speed. He starts wide. Watch that little pause there. Now, boom, he's gone, and it's over. Fulcher just doesn't have a chance, and neither does anybody else.
6th touchdown of the year for Sanders. First touchdown of this game for either team. Jason Hansen still perfect in the NFL in extra points. He's made all 22 of his attempts. 12:41 to play at Riverfront Stadium. It's a 10-point lead for Detroit.
Here's an end zone look at Barry Sanders' touchdown run. Watch as he starts. Look, he's outflanked by 2 Cincinnati players. Now all of a sudden he no longer is outflanked by 2 Cincinnati players, and he's in the end zone for a touchdown. I rave and rave about him, but I just am so taken by some of the things that he does, and it's almost getting cliche-like to talk about it in the way you do, but I just can't help it.
I think he's giving you good reason to rave, not only today, but throughout his 4-year career. A shorter kickoff in the previous efforts by Hansen, but Austell Miles couldn't get it out to the 15-yard line. They swarm him under at the 12-yard line. We'll return to Cincinnati after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. I'm McDonough with John Robinson, our producer Roy Hamilton, our director Richard Drake. Delighted to have you with us from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, where Boomer Esiason is enduring one of the worst days of his career. Only 29 yards passing for Esiason 2.5 minutes into the fourth quarter. Should they be considering some sort of a change at quarterback or something to get this thing going?
They have to do something to get this thing going. They're very flat. They've been flat from the start.
All kinds of time for Boomer, and that's dropped. Not his fault that time. Carl Pickens had it go right in and out of his hands.
One of the things that a coach has, got to do, David Shula, I'm sure, is sitting on the sideline saying, I've got to do something to make it something happen here. This game is slipping away, much as the game last week got away from them until in the fourth quarter they went to a 2-minute type drill and were able. Boomer Esiason waited and waited, got good protection, put the ball on the money, and saw it dropped and said, oh, man, it's one of those days.
2nd and 10. Bengals operating from their own 12-yard line. Lions lead by 10 points in the fourth quarter. They dump it down to the tight end Riggs. He's fighting for the extra yardage. He finally went down at the 21 after a gain of 9. Still a yard short of the first down. George Jameson made the tackle on Riggs.
They have just been completely ineffective at throwing the ball to the wide receivers. Their really only success has been able to dump the ball. They have no catch. The wide receivers have no catches in this game, so it's been just dumped to the tight end or dumped to the fullback. This is one of the best 3rd and short teams in football, so they're going to get a chance to get a first down.
3rd and a little more than a yard. Fenner, the short yardage man, gets the short yardage and then some. He brought it out to the 29. A gain of 8 and a first down for Cincinnati.
Well, Fenner seems to make things happen for them, and they just haven't gotten to him. I thought they would start to get to him today, but I do think they have to shake it up some way. They have not, you know, I don't think they've put 2 first downs together today except on one occasion. So.
At the 29, 1st and 10. As the clock ticks down to 11 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter, they blitz, and it's intercepted. Jamison came on the blitz and forced the throw that wound up in the arms of William White. His 2nd interception of the season, and the 2nd thrown today by Esiason.
Here we get a look at it. There's nobody blocks the outside linebacker, Jamison. He's just dead right on the quarterback. He's trying to throw the football away, just trying to get it back to 2nd and 10, and it goes right to him. There's Boomer saying, man, when does it ever stop? It stops when they block the outside linebacker.
The season for Barry Sanders, the 2nd 3 field goal game of Jason Hanson's career, and the Bengals, who started the day 25th in the league in total offense, have 69 yards. They're heading to the bottom of the list. That's an incomplete pass. Mike Hinnant, the tight end, had it. Then it was batted away. The officials rule that he did not have possession. It goes as an incompletion. 2nd and 10 for Eric Kramer at the Cincinnati 31. This is the 3rd time today that the Lions have taken over in Cincinnati territory after a Bengal turnover.
I was really surprised at that call. You know, you've got Sanders here. You've got a 10-point lead. You want to run time off the clock as much as you can. Here we see the tight end, Hinnant, who's not been a big receiver. He's running the delay pattern. It was there, but again, it's not the guy that you want to be going to in the crunch time of a football game.
It was very close to being a catch. Between his palms and was running. Kramer. Intercepted! James Francis is going to go all the way unless Collins can catch him. Touchdown, Bengals. What are the Lions doing? You made the point after the first play. Now they throw it again with a 10-point lead on 2nd down.
Well, again, they're just losing track of some of the things that you have to do to win. We're going to see in the end zone. It's one of those plays that, you know, that can happen, but the problem is they're not using their strength. It's play action pass. Francis just kind of standing around. He's a great athlete, an ex-basketball player, and they threw him the ball, and he knew what to do with it. That's probably the longest run of his life, and he probably didn't know he could run that far, but that was a nice play on his part. A rather stupid play, I believe, on the part of the Lions.
2nd interception of the season for James Francis. He brought it back 66 yards for the touchdown. McDonough was putting the pressure on, but really the contact came after the throw by Eric Kramer. 2nd TD of Francis's career, and we have a ball game with 10:40 to go. The crowd back into it here at Riverfront Stadium after the interception return for a touchdown by Francis. Mel Gray taken down by the kicker Johnson at the 48-yard line. He took it from inside the end zone and brought it back 52 yards, and maybe they should have kept kicking it out of bounds after further review.
Yeah, we get to take that earlier statement of ours back. I was surprised he even brought it out of the end zone. It's 3 yards in. He is truly a great weapon and has been for a lot of years. Watch the acceleration. Again, like Sanders, once he's in there, he is moving always with the football. Nothing ever really quite slows him down. Great kick returners are people with great courage. They run right at the problem. It's like having a bus coming at you and say, hey, I'm going to run right over that bus, and then make it miss you at the last second.
Jimmy Johnson injured during the kickoff return, as was Toby Castone. Castone up and walking off under his own power. Johnson still down back at the 5-yard line.
And Johnson, that could be a key loss to them, because Johnson is the man that does the blocking for Barry Sanders, so that if they're going to try to protect this lead and get Barry Sanders a consistent running game. There's Kramer saying, I just can't believe what's happened here. Here again is the interception. It's 2nd down and 10. They go with a play action fake. You see Barry Sanders start out in the flat. Francis just kind of standing there watching. Gets up in the air early. When you said he was a basketball player at Baylor, you didn't know he was going to use some of those skills, did you, John?
Bowens runs pretty well too. Grant Taff, who's just retired as the football coach at Baylor after 21 years, coached Francis in college and said he was the best natural athlete that he had ever coached. And as we said, Francis, when he went to Baylor, it was with the intention of first being a basketball player. He was the 6th man on the Baylor basketball team for 2 years, and how about this for 2 seasons in a row? In 1988, he played in the Bluebonnet Bowl as a member of the Baylor football team, and in the NIT as a member of the basketball team. In '89, he played in the Liberty Bowl with the Baylor football team, and in the NCAA basketball tournament on the basketball team. Good to see Johnson up and walking off.
Well, the kickoff return by Mel Gray gave him a lift. But one of the things now, Cincinnati is excited. They have a sense that they can get back in this football game. So we're going to see Cincinnati come at them. I think it'll be tough for Sanders to run the ball. They may have to continue with the pass. We were critical of their decision to throw twice on the last series when they had the ball inside the 30. But in fact, to keep the ball now, they may have to be willing to throw it because I believe Cincinnati will be coming at them with everything they have.
16-13 Detroit. 10:25 to play in the 4th quarter. The Lions begin after the 52-yard kickoff return by Gray at their own 48. They give it to Sanders. Good things continue to happen when they give the ball to Barry Sanders as he danced across midfield and got to the 47-yard line. These are the scores in the AFC Central. Cleveland winning, Pittsburgh winning, and Houston trying to keep pace with Pittsburgh, trailing by 1 game in the AFC Central when the day began. Cincinnati really needs to win this one, as they admitted, to keep their playoff hopes alive. 2nd and 5. Sanders again. This time stopped after a gain of 1. Ricardo McDonald made the stop. Well, let's check in again with Greg Gumbel for this NFL Today report.
All right, Sean, at the Meadowlands, the Eagles have exploded in the 2nd half. This is Vi Sikahema. By the time he finishes, he will have gone 87 yards. This was a 20-20 game at halftime. The extra point failed right here, but it's a 40-20 lead, and the Eagles are, as you watch Sikahema, literally beating up on the Giants. 40-20 in the 3rd, Sean.
Thank you, Greg. Fans hoping the Bengal defense will beat up on the Lions here on 3rd down and 4. From the 46, Kramer runs for the 1st down and goes into the slide of the 39. He got 3 more than he needed to move the chains for Detroit.
Young from San Francisco, their great quarterback, who is having such a phenomenal years running the ball, has made it a little more in for quarterbacks to run now. And Kramer, I'm sure, said, boy, I got to do anything to get this. Watch the blocking on the pass rush. Watch people stay in contact with people. They can't come off the block. So that really facilitates the quarterback running. The offensive lineman that maintains the block, shoves his man past the quarterback, gives that guy, in fact, a great passing lane, but also a chance for him to turn it into a running lane.
7-yard gain, the longest run of the year for Eric Kramer. 1st and 10 at the Cincinnati 39. They blitz. Sanders runs right into it and goes down for a loss of 3, back to the 42. Gary Reasons at the bottom of the pile, as was Tim Crumride.
Well, that's what we were talking about, that they have nothing to lose now. They're coming after Sanders, so they're going to have to think in terms of finding a way to complete the pass against the blitz. They can't afford to let Kramer hold the ball a long time. They got in this situation last week against Pittsburgh, got sacked, had a fumble, and Pittsburgh recovered the ball.
At Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, sold out for the Bengals and Lions this afternoon. And with 7:23 and the clock running remaining in the 4th quarter, Detroit leads 16-13. They're facing 2nd down and 13. They stay with Sanders, and he is buried after a gain back to the 40. That'll bring up 3rd down and 11. Ricardo McDonald, Gary Reasons, the inside linebackers, the tandem that brought down Sanders.
Well, here again, we've got a 3rd down and 10. I'll just bet that Cincinnati is willing to come, at least somebody to come on Barry Sanders to force him to block.
Wayne Fonts wondering if it's going to happen to him again.
This is where Kramer has to earn his money right here. This is where the pressure all on the quarterback and they're blitzing.
Lions 5 for 11 on 3rd down. They've converted the last 3. Kramer lobs it up. Flag thrown. Moore made the catch and is out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. It looked like they were going to call pass interference. Leonard Wheeler had the coverage, and the flag is down at the 28-yard line. We'll see what the flag is for. It's either on Moore or Wheeler.
Cincinnati is showing their blitz. Look, everybody's up. They're coming off the corner. Sanders gets a pretty good block on his man. And look at the air on that ball. It's up. It's not spiraling very much, but it's enough up in the air. It was up in the air that Moore, again, using his superior physical size, could dominate the cornerback and kind of snuff him out. That looks like the NBA when they get those big guys inside and they just kind of lob it up there to him. Nice job by Kramer. Saw the blitz, knew what he had to do, put enough air on the ball. He's got to work on the spirals a little bit, but that was a key play. An excellent job by Kramer. And Barry Sanders has been having trouble with the pass blocker, but he got the job done that time.
Gain of 32 on the play. Moore's 5th catch of the day. He has 86 yards receiving. He's got 10 balls the last 2 games. Sanders in trouble and down in the arms of David Fulcher.
One of the things here now, they're looking at a 3-point lead, 5 minutes to go in the game. If they continue to run the football, they can get it down, you know, under 4 minutes, down into the 3-something, kick a field goal, and then it gives them a 6-point lead, but they still give Cincinnati a lot of time to move the ball down the field. If they're going to score a touchdown, I think they've got to do it via the air, unless Cincinnati backs off and gives Sanders room, and you know they're not going to do that.
2nd and goal from the 13. Sanders back to the 10. Ricardo McDonald made a nice play to avoid being deceived by all those Barry Sanders fakes. Stayed with him and threw him down for a gain of 3. The last 5 rushes for Sanders now have resulted in a gain of 1, a loss of 3, a gain of 1, a loss of 4, and that one a gain of 3. So they have been focusing in on Sanders.
As we said, they were going to make them pass to beat them, and here is that circumstance again. 3rd down and 10 on the 10. They're in there with 4 wide receivers. Again, if they run the draw to Sanders, the clock goes down under 4 minutes. If they throw it completed, it's a touchdown.
3rd and goal from the 10. 4:23 to play. The Lions lead by 3. Kramer is sacked. Ball is loose. And recovered by Detroit at the 11-yard line. Eric Kramer sacked by Roosevelt Nix. The first sack of his NFL career.
Well, this is when calls and decisions by coaches really count. Early in the ball game, you know, you go his time, but here the decisions are what matters. Here's a look at Kramer trying to find a guy in the end zone. There's not much room. Pressure up the field that forced him to flush inside.
And a timeout called with the score. Detroit 16 and Cincinnati 13. 4 minutes to play at Riverfront. Cincinnati called the timeout to stop the clock with 4 minutes remaining. Jason Hansen lining up a 30-yard field goal that would give Detroit a 6-point lead. And it's good. Career high 4 field goals this afternoon for Jason Hansen. Justifying his selection in the 2nd round of this year's draft. He has now made 11 field goals in a row. So it's 19-13. The largest lead for the Lions was 10.
He has an important kick coming up here now. He's been kicking the ball very high, getting great hang time and putting the ball down around the goal line. Cincinnati brought it out once to about the 10 or 12 yard line. So that's another big kick for him. Cincinnati now has a lot of time left. They've got 2 timeouts, but they've got to find a way to get the ball to their wide receivers. So far today, the wide receivers have 0 catches. The tight ends have 4 and the running backs have 4. They've only completed 8 passes. But now, somewhere along the way, they've got to find whatever that rhythm is. Boomer's got to get the ball up the field to them. Detroit has to make a decision whether they keep wanting to put pressure or to start to back off and play zone.
This game is presented by authority of the National Football League. The CBS telecast is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of CBS, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the National Football League is prohibited. Hansen will kick off. Again, it's Miles and Stiegel back deep for the Bengals. Lions started the day 27th in the league in kickoff coverage. Miles helps the coverage certainly when he goes to 2 knees to field just about every kickoff this afternoon. Well, and he brought that one out to the 24.
That was a knuckleball. He had time and he got it out to the 24.
Boomer Esiason has had an awful day, but the chance really to put all that behind him if he can engineer the one drive for a touchdown that wins the game for Cincinnati. This afternoon, the Bengals have 69 yards in total offense. The Bengals have had 121 yards in interception returns.
Maybe they ought to give the ball to Detroit. Let's see if they can run it.
Only touchdown by the Bengals was on a 66-yard interception return for a touchdown. On the swing pass, Harold Green brought it out to the 34-yard line, very close to a first down. He appears to be about a foot or 2 short. 5 receptions today for Green.
I'm really surprised Derek Fenner is not in this football game. He was a catalyst last week of getting their offense going when they went to the 2 minutes, but he hasn't seen much action today.
On 2nd and inches, again they swing it out to Green. And he took a pop after picking up the first down. Wouldn't you know it was Spielman when you hear a noise like that. Kevin Scott also in on the play, but they picked up a couple and got the first down at the 35, but the clock is running under 3 minutes to go now here in Cincinnati.
That was what they call a read screen. It's a one-man screen. Boomer Esiason's looking down the field, hoping he can get the ball in. If he doesn't like it, he throws it to a checkoff man.
The Bengals trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. That's on the money. Close to another first down is the tight end Craig Thompson, the rookie out of North Carolina A&T. Jameson brought him down. No indication yet that it is a first down. And they're going to say he's inches short. 2nd and inches with 2:25 remaining. Bengals at their own 45. Field goal will do them no good now. They need a touchdown and the extra point to win the game. Down by 6 is Cincinnati. McGee thrown down by Kevin Scott. That picked up the first down and gained them 5 to the 50-yard line, and it ticks the clock down to the 2-minute warning. The first catch by a wide receiver for Cincinnati today, made by Tim McGee. They're 50 yards away with 2 minutes to go. Back in a moment. It's a 6-point lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. Dave Shula has 2 timeouts to work with and 50 yards to cover as his team is looking at 1st and 10 at midfield. All 3 timeouts remaining for Wayne Fonts. Prior to this drive, Boomer Esiason was 8 for 17 for only 38 yards. On this drive, he's 4 for 4 for 26 yards. Fenner has come into the ball game for the Bengals. Esiason had to go through the hands of McGee, and it's dropped. Should have been intercepted by William White, but he couldn't squeeze it. First, it should have been caught by McGee. Then it certainly should have been squeezed by William White.
What they're trying to do is to push the wide receivers way up the field, watch the wide receivers come up, push deep, and then run the crossing pattern up the field by there, then across, trying to get basically a one-on-one coverage, which they do, but he doesn't catch the football. Benny Blaze did a nice job against him.
Minute 53 to play. 2nd and 10. They're coming on a blitz, and Fenner couldn't catch it. He had all kinds of room to run down the far sideline had that been on the money.
Well, Detroit came with a lot of people that time, and nobody picked Fenner up. If he'd have gotten the ball to him, it would have been a chance for a big run down the sideline, but the ball looked like it was trying to dropping and falling away from him. As we talked earlier, you throw those swing passes or those short passes in the middle, that ball has to be on the money, and it can't be fading away from the receiver because they just don't adjust to it. Two more chances. They don't have to make it on this one, but they got to get it up the field at some point.
This is the first 3rd down for Cincinnati on this drive. They're 4 for 11 for the game on 3rd down conversion. Size with plenty of time. Got it down. Ray Crockett broke it up. It was intended for Reggie Rembert. First time they've thrown in his direction today. And now it's 4th down and 10 for the Bengals from midfield with 1:43 to play, and with Detroit leading by 6.
Well, that was a blitz again. They're coming with people, forcing man-to-man coverage. The quarterback does a good job, but the receivers just aren't beating the defensive back. That's just a man winning that battle one-on-one. Crockett was the winner. If you can cover the receivers like that, you've got to find an alternative, because the receiver has to beat man coverage.
4th down and 10. He had plenty of time again, but well covered was the intended receiver Pickens, and the Lions take over on downs. William White was there with Kevin Scott, and Boomer tried to feed it through basically the eye of a needle, and it did not connect.
The boos go to the quarterback always, because he's the one that everybody focuses on, but there wasn't anybody open anywhere for him. You know, he had to ricochet it around some guys to get it into his man. So much of the burden goes, he's got good pass protection, and he waits and he waits, he stays on balance, puts the ball. I think he knows it's not going in there. He knew he didn't have much. They've still got 2 timeouts. They can get the ball back, but it's going to be with almost no time left. The way they've moved the football today, they need a lot of time to move the football up the field. So it's been disappointing for Cincinnati.
Think they'll give it to number 20?
I think so.
Sanders gains 2, and very quickly the Bengals use their 2nd timeout. It leaves them with 1 with 1:32 to play. The Detroit Lions trying to run out the time and win their 3rd game of the season.
Today, they either playing with a worried mind, but they're, you know, David Shula was worried obviously on the practice field Friday about flatness, and the way he addressed that problem was to start practice over, but try as you might, it didn't help.
And on the other side, Wayne Fonts told us yesterday that at some point during the remainder of this season, he has to get a look at Andre Ware as his starting quarterback. Andre Ware hasn't seen any action this year, and like Klingler, he's a former standout in the run and shoot at the University of Houston. Klingler was his understudy at Houston before David took the controls after Ware departed. 3rd down and 2. This is the ball game here if the Lions pick it up. They're on their way to victory. Sanders has the 1st down and went out of bounds, but now with no timeouts left for the Bengals, Detroit can run out the time. Woody Allen says he didn't do it. Mia Farrow says he did. Woody tells his story to Steve Kroft tonight on 60 Minutes. Then it's Murder, She Wrote, followed by the CBS Sunday movie Nightmare in the Daylight. And that is, for you Bengal fans, not a replay of the Cincinnati offense in this game this afternoon. There's Andre Ware.
Andre Ware, again, a similar set of circumstances as Cincinnati with Klingler. He hasn't gotten any action, and I think if Detroit is going to ever make a player out of him, they got to do it this year. It's a difficult thing for Coach Fonts to do because he's got 2 quarterbacks, and both of them are aggressive and eager people. Eric Kramer's got a win for them here today. And it's a big win for Detroit. It's a big win for that man. He has been going through nightmares, and as we said last week, he did as good a coaching job as anybody I've ever seen in this league in the way he directed that football team last year. But his severest challenges have all been this year when everything's gone bad.
And even today, victory did not come without some agonizing moments for Wayne Fontes.
No, they kept it exciting for us by giving that touchdown to Cincinnati just to keep the fans here, I guess.
Well, to his credit, and most of all to his team's credit. We saw them last week in Pittsburgh. They played hard, even though they didn't play particularly well. There was no doubting the effort. And they have, even with their 2-8 record coming into today, played hard today. And this time they'll walk off the field with their 3rd win of the year. 3-8 are the Bengals and Wayne Fontes. 4-7, or rather the Lions and Wayne Fontes. 4-7 the Cincinnati Bengals, and their playoff hopes just about extinguished. Barry Sanders today 151 yards rushing, the best game of his season, and Eric Kramer was 12 for 25 for 141 yards. Today's game was produced by Roy Hamilton and directed by Richard Drake. The NFL Today was produced by Eric Mann and directed by Duke Struck, and the senior producer of the NFL on CBS is Ed Gorin. Stay tuned for the NFL Today postgame show. Greg and Terry will have all the scores and highlights. The final score, Detroit 19, Cincinnati 13. You're watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League. Today, Barry, what was the key to your big afternoon?
Well, I felt we kept them off balance, especially in the first half. We did a great job of run blocking. The guys really dug down, created some holes, and fortunately I was able to find them.
Barry, when the passing game works, it sure helps you, doesn't it? Isn't that an integral part of you having the kind of day you had today?
Definitely. Our guys are really stepping up. Herman Moore, Willie Green, Brett Perriman, those guys, they're really keeping guys off balance. They're allowing us to become a more balanced team. We heard them with some big plays in the passing game, and it just opened things up for me.
Barry, the change, somewhat of a shift from the straight run and shoot offense toward an offense now that incorporates some tight ends and isn't always 4 wide receivers. What kind of an impact has that had on you personally?
I think this helped me out a lot, helped the team out. A lot of teams were able to gear down on our run game when we went just with strictly the 4 wide outlook. Where they put an extra linebacker up or a defensive back up, they were pretty much able to contain the run game. But with the addition of the tight end, a couple of tight ends, with the ace look, we're able to be more effective running the ball. And even you saw today, we even passed to the tight end once or twice. So I think with that look, it'll just make us a more balanced team.
Barry, thank you very much. Greg and Terry, back to you.
All right, Sean, John, thanks very much. Barry Sanders, an excellent day running the football. Let's update you on the game at the Meadowlands between the Eagles and the New York Giants. Almost 6 minutes to play in that game, and the Eagles